Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting Lord Duckman production. Behind me here is my 1968 Volkswagen Fastback, and Ruby here is having a terrible, terrible problem idling. I don't know what the hell the deal is. I think there's some junk in the carburetors, at least that's what I believe it to be, because once in a while she's fine, and then she goes back to sounds like it's running on 2 cylinders again. So we're going to pull the carburetors off, clean them out, and hopefully that resolves the problem. I think we just got a little bit of crap in there, so we'll see. Usually, in the case of this, when I've experienced it before, it was the little check valves in the accelerator pump get stuck, and it causes just a little extra fuel to go down in the carburetor, and at idle, it runs like crap. When you're wide open or down a highway or something, it's fine. But yeah, anyway, we'll get this thing fixed. Like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to plug the link below to get updates every time I upload a video. Check out duckshit.net for all of my different social media links, and we'll be back right after that intro. And this is how you open a rear trunk on a Type 3 Fastback. And here she goes. And then in here is your engine. And my damn tripod's fighting with me. You fuck. Do this. Do this. Oh, I guess I was already in here. Okay. And there's this convenient little hook up here because Volkswagen thought of everything. And there's your engine. These are my dual Dell'Orto carburetors. Look how nice and gummy they get on the outside. Just typical the way they are. It's just carburetors for you. That side don't look so bad. So we'll check all the seals and everything on these things. It may need a rebuild, but it's probably just a cleanup because, I mean, like I said, this thing runs fine otherwise. But what it's going to take to get this thing apart is there's 2 screws on each carburetor. There's a vacuum line here. There's a fuel line on each side. And I need to remove the throttle linkage. And what I want to do with the throttle linkage is just disconnect it. I don't want to play with any of the adjusters on anything because it's, well, I put the throttle linkage in about 5 years ago, and it's tuned so well that even 5 years later, these things still feel balanced and still feel like they're in tune. This CB Performance linkage you see here was just a godsend when it comes to this thing. I used to have the old push-pull linkage in the middle that had the pivot. That thing would come out of tune after every, 10 minutes I would drive it, it was out of tune again. It seemed like I could just never keep the thing just right. It would just, yeah, it was terrible. Ran bad, required me to be on the throttle a lot. The engine ran really hot, and in addition to that, I got bad gas mileage. But anyway, let's start pulling some stuff out. All right, these little linkages here on the end is what we're going to remove first. And this is the only thing I don't like about this CB Performance setup. And I don't know who the genius was that decided to choose these parts, but everything on here is metric, except for these nuts and bolts. These are 3/8 of an inch. And that just drives me nuts. You gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta deal with what you got. So, I guess that's it. I suppose I could replace them someday, but it's been, what, 5 or 6 years since I had to take it apart anyways. Alright, we'll get the one out of this side, too. Come on now. Go. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, I've just been overjoyed with this linkage. Otherwise, it's just, it's kept everything in tune. Like I said, for 5 years. I put these things in and, whoa, you know what? I think it was 2017 I put them in. That means it's like 6 years. Yeah, a little longer than I thought. Oh, man. All right. Guess we gotta take these air cleaners off. Ooh, that one's on there real good. Shows how long I've had it off. All right, well, in between recording, I got the one side off. And this side I've started to loosen up already. They should come right out. The wing nuts are so small, they're a little hard for me to get my fingers around them because they're so little. All right, air cleaners, wing nuts and everything. How are my air cleaners? They're pretty dusty. Not the end of the world dusty, but I can clean them. I've got the bath kit that you put it in and you swish it around. I could also throw it in my parts washer. That'll take care of them too. Okay, now, where are we at in here? That's right, the tops of these don't come off because there's 3 screws, I think, that hold them together. We'll wait for that jet to pass over. Meanwhile, we'll pull off a vacuum line. And our fuel line, that's really hard to get to. Really hard to get to. Alright, I just got reminded how difficult it is to get the fuel line out of there. The fuel line, I think I attached it to the carburetor first and then attached it into the T that's here. So I think what I'll do is I'll just detach it from the T. And on the other side, yeah, there's a T over here also. This one goes out to that carburetor, so I think I'll detach it there. You're probably wondering, hey, why do you have two T's? And that's because I'm actually utilizing the fuel injection return because I don't like there being any residual pressure in the lines because these carburetors have a tendency to boil over when this car gets parked for more than just a few minutes. Because all the heat will soak up in the engine compartment and those carburetors get very hot very quickly. Some people said, well, you know, it's because of your lack of insulation and short intake manifolds and the heat soaks up through the intake manifold. I'm sure that's not helping things, but fact is, when I had the prophylactic spacers, I can never remember the damn name for them, phenylalanine, it's a prophylactic, either way you look at it. It's a protected barrier, it's an insulator ring that goes on and you put your carburetor on top of it. It made no difference. I mean, absolutely no difference at all. The only thing I had more of a problem with is it raised the carburetors up so much that it was it raised the carburetors up so much that it was very, very hard to get the air cleaners on. So that was frustrating as hell. So anyway, they came back out because they weren't doing me any good. So we got to get these carburetors out, and I guess the way to do it is going to be to remove these 13mm bolts, one on each side. This side's a little harder to get to because the coil's in the way. But needless to say, I'll get in there, we get these things pulled, and up comes the carburetors. I've got those 13mm bolts loose. This one is coming off last here. First one is already out. Here's the nut. Here's the washer. And then the entire carburetor should pull up. Here it is. Now I'll put a piece of paper towel down in the intake manifold. Now that that's apart, this also comes out. So this entire linkage in the middle here can be released. No, I don't have to disconnect it from my throttle cable because, well, it's going to stay in the car. This part doesn't need to come out. But now I can actually get to my fuel line. Look at that. So I could detach from there now if I want to. And I notice it is just a little loose. It's spinning around kind of easy. And I was smelling gas, so I don't know if that is part of the problem. Maybe it leaks a little. Needless to say, we're going to tighten that clamp down after we put it back together and make sure we don't have any drippage. All right, here's our intake manifold gasket. We don't want to ruin that, so I'm just going to take it up and put it out of the way. Here we go. Let me throw some paper towel down in that hole. All right, there you go. Shut your mother. Good. All right, next side. Same thing. Move them two bolts. All right. We got the nuts off the bottom there and the washers. This sucker should come straight up and out. Ooh, snug fit. Snug fit, and we're squirting. Alright, we'll put this paper towel down in there because fuck there. There it goes. Alright, excellent. Here we are. Let's start removing some fuel lines and we should be able to pull these carburetors out. But look at how dirty they are, man. And these aren't just like leaky per se, but they do develop a what's the word I'm looking for? Condensation on the outside, which may or may not be, you know, engine fluids. But when the condensation develops, dirt and things will stick in it, and then it leaves this residue behind, which can be really, really hard to clean up. And I should have come in here with degreaser before I did anything at all, and just cleaned up this whole engine. This would have made my job a lot easier, and my hands would have been a little cleaner for whatever it's worth. Although I gotta say, so far, I'm actually pretty good. Alright, fuel line time. Here's our clamp. We're going to try to get these clamps off here. That one, of course, is facing the wrong direction. No, there it is. So now that it's easy for me to reach, now that it's close to me, we'll see what we can do about getting it out of there. Alright, here we go. This should come off of here. The barb on this thing is kind of like a round sphere. Yeah, that one came off quite easy, actually. It may have been a leak there, even. Okay. Feels like it's loose. Weird. Maybe it is just a little bit. Oh, of course, fuel's leaking. This gas I got, whatever station I got at, doesn't smell like gas usually does. It kind of stinks, but it doesn't smell like shellac. I mean, it smells like fresh fuel. It's just a really awful smell. Not like gas usually smells. They must have had some weird additive in there or something. Anyway, here's one carburetor. Just put that out the way. Try to get the other one out, same method. Let's see if I can get in there. This one's a little further away from me. Harder to reach. This one's the clamp. Here's your clamp. Let's see if I can pull right out of there. I'll be damned. Looks like it's going to come out. That was a lot easier than I expected. I don't usually get to say that, but I did that time. This thing is filthy. Oh, man. All right, well, let's get these carburetors to a spot where we can work on them. I'm going to get these suckers cleaned up. All right, getting inside here. We already got one of them disassembled. I'm going to hit the second one now. These Phillips head screws have to come out to take the air cleaner off the top. Yes, there's a lot of turns. There it is. If you don't usually do this kind of stuff, I wouldn't recommend throwing all of your screws and everything for both carburetors into the same bin, because I have done this before. I will do exactly that. There we go. All my little pieces, spacers, screws, all right there. I just bounce something out? No. I can go out the way. These are things I can clean separately later. Okay. Look how nasty that is. Yucky, yucky. This one, I had already started spraying it down. You can see there's quite a difference on there, but of course the ultrasonic cleaner is going to do the rest of the work. I wasn't going to ultrasonic clean it, but I changed my mind when I saw how dirty these things are, because it occurred to me, when I did the carburetor synchronization with the new linkage, I did not clean the carburetors at that time. I actually cleaned them before that. And I've had Ruby now, I think, for 10, 11 years. And I did it sometime after I got her. So, yeah, it's been almost 10 years, right about 10 years, since I cleaned the carburetors on this thing. So, yeah, it's time. It's time. So far, the gaskets and seals inside of these things are looking like they're in good shape, so everything should be reusable. It doesn't need an actual rebuild, just a cleaning, because everything is just dirty, nasty, yucky. 5754. They're the same on both sides, with an R. I don't know if that means right hand. Probably not, but... Or maybe it does, I don't know. Sometimes these manufacturers make mirror images of these carburetors. So maybe one is a righty and one's a lefty. There we go. There's a little rubber O-ring in here. I'm going to pull that out, because I don't want to put that in the bath. Sometimes those get... well, they dissolve. So I don't want to do that. And I feel there's an O-ring... there it is, on this screw also, so I'm also going to salvage that one and put it out of the way and not let it go in the bath. I'll put that outside here. And there's also a little strainer that's inside of here. If I can get it out without a tool. Probably not, we'll use a tool. Sometimes there's a whole bunch of gunk underneath this. This is another something that I'm not going to let go in the bath, because, again, could dissolve. And yeah, there's a bunch of gunk stuck in it, so it definitely needs to be cleaned. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of silt underneath it that's in there, needs to be washed out. So, still got some gas in here. Whoa, more gas than I thought would be in there. Here's our carb top. Pull our accelerator pump off. And I hope the pump diaphragm in here is good. The other one looked like it was brand new on the other side. Alright, that comes out. Pump will come off. Come on now. Release. There it goes. There's a spring inside of these things. Don't lose it. There's the spring. And there's our diaphragm. Again, that looks to be in really good shape. I don't see any tears or problems with it. Now, that's going to go, not in the bath. I'm going to keep that outside of it. We don't need to take all of this off. This is mechanical stuff that doesn't have any problems with sealing. Feels like my bushings are good and tight, if there even is bushings in there. Sometimes these butterfly shafts will wear through the body of the carburetor and end up really loose. This one is not one of them. This one's in good shape. All right, start taking out our jets. That was kind of loose. Go. And then our carb top, we need to push out the pin for the float. Look, man, you make it look so easy like you've done it before. It's because I have. Here's our gasket. Keep that again on the outside. Don't need to wash the gaskets. Okay. We're going to pull this little tube out of here. There we go. Huh, light's not going through it. Not at all. That could be part of the problem. That could definitely be part of our problem here. Oh no, this isn't even spraying through. Alright, well we had a... There it goes. Now we got light. That was dirty, whatever it's worth. I think that's just a breather though. I'm pretty sure all that does is let air inside the float chamber there, inside the bowl. This one I can see through, so that's good. Okay, anything else on here needs to come apart? No, I think that's it. Yeah, that was it. This one, got all the little jets out of him as well. No problem. Yep. These tops and bottoms should be identical, but just because I'm going to keep them on separate sides as we put the stuff in here. This is our mixture screw. These are only set about a quarter out. So from whatever it is in, let's see. Actually, that was a half a turn. I got about 3/4 of a turn on that. Usually they're set only about a quarter out. Now, I don't know if that vibrated loose. That could be part of my problem also. If one of these came a little out, and that's why I run a little richer when I'm smelling gas. That needs to be cleaned. And our idle screw is here. That really doesn't need to come out. There's also 2 screws that are here that go into blind holes. I don't know why they do, so they don't need to come out either. I'm just going to leave them alone. They might actually be for mounting air cleaners or throttle linkages on. That might be their purpose. There's also a plug here. There's no reason for the plug to come out. Wait a minute. Yes, there is. There's a jet behind it. My bad. Not the plug that I thought it was. I'm thinking it was a plug like on a Solex. This one actually does have a jet behind it, so I do need to get in there. Okay. Alright, I noticed that the plug was a little bit loose. That's not good there. Not at all. Alright, there's our jet. Like I said, it's not like a Solex where the jet is way up inside the carburetor and the plug is literally just a plug. Okay. Oh, Biddy, so nice you could join us today. Trying to pull that gasket off, but it doesn't want to come off. Well, you know what to say, it doesn't want to come off, it doesn't come off. It's just going to stay there. Get this jet out of here. There we go. Bring this one over here, and this one do the same thing. I forgot to take it out of there. Ooh, that one was loose also. Well, gee, I don't know if that's why I might have been smelling fuel. There's a lot of things were loose on these carburetors. I don't know what I was thinking when I put them together. Maybe it's just over the years things just... temperature changes, vibration. I don't know. I forgot to take this out too. Yeah, it's got half a turn on it. The other one's about 3/4. So yeah, these have definitely changed from my original settings. Making sure I didn't miss anything in here that has a rubber grommet or what have you. I said I don't want to wash up any of them grommies. Got a rubber grommy? No. I think we're good. Okay. Float can stay out. I'll wash it. There's no reason for it to go in the parts cleaner otherwise, though. And it'll probably be fine, but... Alright, here's our main jet. Like I said, we weren't having any problems with the engine running at higher RPMs or wider throttle settings. It was always when it was around idle that it had issue, and it wasn't even always. No, sometimes I'd run it and it'd be fine, and then sometimes I'd run it and it would act like shit, and sometimes I'd run it and it would act like shit and then be fine, and then like shit again. I mean, it just, there's no rhyme or reason. I don't think it had anything to do with ignition. That would be really weird for ignition to, you know, do something wonky like that. But it sounded to me like it was fuel delivery. Whenever it acted weird, I smelled gas, so I think something was flooding like it shouldn't have been. Alright. This can come out, but there's really no reason to pull it out. Because if fuel goes through this is fine. And I wasn't, again, having problems with fuel delivery. Yeah, see, this is okay. I don't know why I'm bothering to clean it now, because it's going to go in the parts washer and then it's going to come back out. And then I'll clean it again. Alright. Now when it comes to the parts washer, when I put things in it, anything that's closest to the bottom doesn't clean as well as things that are, let's say, in the middle. So what I might discover, what I probably want to do, is put some of these things in like this. This will act much more efficiently, because this part doesn't need to be cleaned. This stuff does. So we'll flip that over. As far as these are concerned, well, it's really not going to make too much of a difference. We'll put the side up where all the jets and stuff go. This is where all the passageways are. Oh, by the way, that check valve that I had mentioned, you can actually see one of them in there. You see that little ball in there? You can actually roll it back and forth. That's one of them. There's another one that's down inside here also, that's inside the body of the carburetor. This stops it from, when you pump, stops the accelerator pump from pushing fuel back into the bowl, and it pushes fuel out this way. But at the same time, when the accelerator pump sucks back this way, it closes the valve on the inlet way, so that way fuel that's inside the accelerator pump doesn't leak down inside the carburetor. And that was where I had the problem, where the fuel would leak down in the carburetor and it would start running rich. And that's the way I bought the car, and it was in some really, really bad shape. And that was all it took to clean it. It's getting the balls freed up. How's the ball in this one? Yeah, that one's rolling. Whoa, no, that one's sticking. Not as badly as the other one. The other one rolled real free. This one's got a little stick to it. We'll make sure that's clean too then. Alright, well, there it is. I'll check the temperature on the parts washer, and then we should be able to throw all this stuff in and give us about 30 minutes and it comes back out. Alright, you may notice this is kind of a large basket. That's because I have a large ultrasonic parts cleaner. I decided I wanted to get a bigger one because I wanted to be able to wash whole carburetors at once. Some of the ones my friends have gotten, you have to take the carburetors apart and wash one half of it at a time. Not only can I do a whole carburetor at once, but I can do 2 whole carburetors at once, and a little parts bin in here for all the little loose stuff. And hopefully that's not going to affect the cleaning of the carburetors that it's close to, because you're not supposed to crowd these things. And I guess it's not too badly crowded, because the areas that need to be washed are... Yeah, anyway. I think we got adequate space between everything, although it would certainly be better this way. Let's see, does that make me happier? Actually, I think it might. I think I like that better. There's more free space in between it without pushing up against the side, flat side of this. The accelerator pump can droop over the side of that. That works out good. This thing is up and out of the way. The accelerator pump for the other one is down here. Alright, that's good. let's go throw it in the bath. All right, currently inside of here, I have a bucket warmer. This is what's actually warming the liquid inside here. Right now, it's that's hot. It's hot as like a cup of coffee that's a little too hot to sip. That's about where it's at. So that didn't feel good. It was just a little too hot. Anyway, it says 20 degrees. That is a bullshit lie. Usually this bucket warmer will get it up so warm it'll start boiling, and it's way hotter than 20 degrees right now. I assure you of that. Anyway, this thermometer is extremely slow to update. When it finally does get updated is usually when I've already started cooling the thing down. I have the heater turned on here, and I have that heat on at the same time. The combination of these two things actually heats it up in about 10 minutes, which is really nice, because otherwise it takes hours for the unit alone to heat it. I guess it's just the way it works. It just has a really cheap heater in it. Anyway, it's ready to go. What we've got in there is just a simple bath of simple green. And we'll throw it right in the top here. Here we go, Duckman. 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 You can see my fiber optic cable running behind it there. Is the lid too hot to touch? No, we're good. Oh, man. I don't want that to fall in. That'll give me a zappy. You know what? You're not supposed to take that out of the water either without unplugging it. All right, good. Now I'm not going to fry myself. All right. This bath goes in. Here we go. That's it. Throw that back in because we want to keep it warm. Just like that. Actually, this isn't actually touching my parts. I don't want to burn the parts up or melt anything. You know what? I'm going to leave it out. I think it's hot enough. Oh, look, the temperature's suddenly changing. 26 degrees. That might have been from me swirling it also. Anyway, it's still heating. That's good. It doesn't need to be very much hotter than that. I mean, that's where it's at. Otherwise, the bucket warmer would get it up to boiling temperatures, and that's probably plenty adequate. I hear you, and now I'm ready to make an even bigger noise than you. You ready? God, I hate this sound. This is just the worst sound ever. It's like angle grinders, just to me. It's just horribly loud. Oh, God. Oh! All right, and I'll see you in 30 minutes and 54 seconds. We'll be back soon. Well, I didn't realize it was going to get dark so soon. Well, just finishing up. It's actually the second time that it's been through the bath. First time didn't quite get it. Sometimes it doesn't. You see the temperature on there, 62 degrees is what it finally hit. Usually it'll hit 80. And it still hasn't, even after an hour of sitting. And the bucket warmer actually got it to like 40-ish. And stirring it up is enough to make the temperature, the thermometer, rise. Well, I guess the thermometer in there needs a little action. We all need a little action. Anyway, I'm going to pull out the stuff out of the bath, and it looks like I'm just going to give it a rinse off because, man, it's getting dark out here really fast, so I'm not going to get a whole lot done in the dark, and I'm not even going to try. Too many small pieces, I'm going to lose something. So we'll pull this out of here, we'll get it rinsed off, and we'll wrap up the video for tonight, and we'll be back in the morning to finish this thing up with an assembly. And, of course, don't put your fingers in there. 63 degrees Celsius is not nice on the hands. It will scald you. That also means that the parts that are in here are also going to be at 63 degrees, so careful what you touch. Give that a rinse. Give this a rinse. Oh yeah, it's hot. Alright, we'll just get this basket and I'll put it out of the way. Alright folks, we're back. Check out this. This one's already been reassembled. This came out of the bath. I tell you what, that ultrasonic cleaner with some simple green really does the trick. Links down below in the video description if you'd like to get a ultrasonic cleaner like the Duckman has. You don't have to get one as big, but you know, not everybody has one as big as the Duckman. Anyway, here's the second carburetor. This is the one I discovered where the problem was at, and I was right. It was in the accelerator pump. Because, and I can't use my carburetor cleaner, this really annoys the hell out of me. Real quick story. This was sitting in the garage, and I walked back out into the garage to go grab something late last night, and I smelled carburetor cleaner. I was like, oh, okay, you know, this stuff is in there. But then I realized there's a puddle all filled up in here around the top of this, and it's wet around the base of it. This had a little trickle in it, and it was just letting it go. So it wasted most of my can of carb choke cleaner by just sitting there. So anyway, this morning I had almost none, just enough to finish up the one carburetor. So anyway, we're going to be using a little brake clean. Well, I guess not, because the damn cap's busted off on this too. So, oh, Duckman, you're really in some bad shape today, aren't you? Anyway, as I was saying, there's a little check valve in here. I showed you that yesterday or earlier in the video. There's another check valve that's underneath this plug here. This is the one that allows the gas to be, or gasoline to be pumped into the bore when you step on the accelerator, because it pushes the pump in and then it pushes up here. So this check valve stops fluid from leaking out on its own. So in other words, the vacuum doesn't actually draw it in. It should pull a little check valve up. Anyway, that little ball bearing, there's one just like it. It's underneath here. That's what's stuck. And it seems to be stuck closed, which is what the surprise is. When I try to put the carb cleaner into this little hole that you see right in there, and this white is actually a little bit of the simple green detergent, but when I try to push a little bit of fluid up through there, it won't go. It stops like it's hitting a brick wall. I may have to pull this plug out. We'll see what happens when I get in there. I'll try another bottle of brake clean because I have another one somewhere inside the garage. I can't believe that's busted. It's like a new can, too. I don't even know where the cap is. It's not even in there. Anyway, just another nuisance. I guess I'll return it. I hate returning shit to the store. Anyway, I need to free that up. Once that's freed up, this thing should be fixed, and then we can put it back together. And one other problem, these are my accelerator springs, the accelerator pump springs, I should say. Yesterday, when I took this thing apart, one of them fell out and rolled in this tray. This is why I work in a tray. The second one, I pulled it out of the accelerator pump and I put it in here. And I discovered the first one laying, so I put it in the tray also. After it came out of the bath, there's only one spring. Really annoying. Anyway, I made some new springs. The spring rate on these is a little bit stronger, which is good. Sometimes when you get a throttle linkage, they give you upgraded springs, so that way your throttle return works a little bit better. So consider these upgraded springs. That was something I had a problem with, was throttle returning back to the position it's supposed to be. So for whatever it's worth, that should help a little bit. In addition to it, because I crafted the springs, now they don't fucking fall out. They actually fit on the little nub that's in there because it's a snug fit. See? Not bad for a Duckman job, huh? Alright, well, let me find some brake clean, and we'll try to get the sucker cleaned up. Oh, and I also fixed the return spring that's on here, because apparently that was busted. I had no idea. I never paid that much attention to it. But now it actually closes the throttle when you let go, so good. Alright, let me get some other cleaner. Alright, well, I got down inside of here. A little piece of wire. And there's a tiny little hole in there. And I just simply knocked the little ball bearing check valve loose that's inside of there. And now I'm using a little bit of brake clean, which is the wrong stuff. Now we are getting flow. Look at that. Okay, good. So that fixes that. Good. Really, this thing is it's pretty clean after all the work I've done to it. At this point, it's just a matter of getting the soapy detergent out, which is simple green. And this top, I already started to put this back together. This little brass thing here, that fell out of one of these lids. And I just noticed it was rolling around in the tray. Again, that's why I have the tray, so I don't lose things. Anyway, I found it out rolling around. I looked, and I discovered one of them had it in the lid, and the other one didn't, so I just pressed it back in, and in it went. So, we're good. Okay. Yeah, this is mostly cleaned out, as I said before. It's amazing how many little passageways this lid has. There we go. Alright. I gotta clean out the jets. This is... This one you gotta go in the tip of this here. It's got a little 90 degrees on either side of it. There we go. That. We'll blow it out. Blow it out your ass. Good. Let go. There's the emulsification tube here. Got a little cleanup. Good. There. Alright, all that's left is the main jet and one of the air jets. There's nothing to these things. They actually look pretty clean. These wasn't my problem. My problem was all around that accelerator pump. And I know that because I've done this before and experienced that before. I knew what it was when it happened. Alright, this jet goes in here. I'm going to have to stop my camera in a minute because we're about to run out of SD card space. Yeah, that's not good. I'm going to hit that with a wire brush and clean it. I can make that nice and shiny. Alright, well, I'll be right back. Alright, we're back just in time for a jet to fly over. You know what? I don't give a shit because it's about that time of day already. It's lunchtime. It's good enough for me. Alright. Put some of this back together. I know what goes where, but I don't know if there's a particular order that I should do these things in. This one is non-intrusive, so let's do that one first. This is the accelerator pump jet. Because when we step on the throttle, it pumps the accelerator up through that little hole that we talked about, and then up through here, up into that jet, and then back down through the little spout that's right there. Well, that's how that one works. Kind of interesting, the lid has so much extra crap in it because a lot of carburetors don't have that. The lid is literally just a lid. Alright, we do have to put our float valve back in here. We also need to put our gasket back on here, which I think I got that right. Is that right? One like that. Had it backwards. Little float valve. This goes in here like that. Drop it in there. Earlier I lost one of the float valves too, not just the spring. But I discovered it wasn't actually lost. The float valve was still hung up in the float itself. Usually what gets lost when I do a lot of carburetors in an order, I always lose the float valve pin. This little guy always manages to disappear. And it's not always my fault. You get people in the shop that they come around and are like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? This? What's this? Oh, I dropped something. You know, and then it's gone. Thankfully, I've got literally a bucket of carburetors inside. It has a ton of spare parts, but I don't have any spare parts for Dell'Ortos because these things are becoming kind of rare. Alright, what's going on here? Alright, we're all screwed up now. Try this again. It only goes in one way, and if you do it in the wrong order... There we go. Alright, I got that. This goes in here. Yeah, nice and shiny, all the brasses. Go. Making everything a lot tighter than before. I might have been a little bit of a sissy when I tightened this stuff up before, because I did notice that some of these things were barely more than finger tight. Does this go in here? No, this goes in here. This goes in the main body. That, I believe, is an air jet. That's what mixes in the emulsification tube. Alright, this is the main jet proper, which is in the plug. Makes it nice and easy to get to if you need to service it, but because the engine compartment area on a Volkswagen is so damn tight, no, I ain't servicing anything without taking the carburetors out, so that's just the way it's done. And like I said, we're making everything a lot tighter than we did before. I don't know if it was vibration or if it was me or what the hell I did wrong, but we're not having things falling apart. Because things being loose may have been a big cause of our problems this go around. Although, I'll tell you what, 10 years though without cleaning the carburetors is pretty damn good. Alright. Little screws over here. I already matched the washers to these things. I didn't want them in the basket because they're small and finicky and hard to pick up with these big fingers that I got. Like, what's his name? Thing from the Fantastic Four. Alright, here we go. I always think something goes in there, but that's just a blind hole. It goes nowhere. Yeah, here is our idle mixture. Ooh, that is dirty. That is dirty, dirty. Looks like it might even have a little rust sitting on it. Alright, I'm going to hit that with a wire brush. That didn't clean up. It actually looks probably worse than when I started. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, that's much better. Look at that. Yeah. Alright. This goes back in with a spring. And now that's interesting. Had the spring for it a minute ago. Oh, there it is. Alright. And that goes into this hole right here. And this gets finger tight once it stops turning. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Still turning. Up, stopped. Alright, turn it back. Half a turn, open. That's it. It's usually set between a quarter turn and 3/4 turn, at least for me anyway, with the current jetting that's on here. Alright, what do we have left? Anything in particular? No, I guess that's about it. I did tighten that up, didn't I? Just double check. I think I did, but yeah, we're good. Carburetor goes back together here. This is our tag. This one goes on the front of the carb, which technically is the rear of the car. This is the left side carburetor. So it was the left side carburetor that was acting up all along, and now how I know it's the left side is because this one has the long linkage on it, that long arm that's there. The other side is shorter because the cylinders are offset slightly. Good sip. Good sip. Oh, yeah. Alright. And this goes up on top. Oh, you know what? I gotta put the screw in it first. One more screw that has to go in. It's this one. Alright, should be done with the flat screw now. Everything from here out is Phillips. These standoffs go underneath this carburetor. This was never intended, by the way. These were intended for Weber carburetors, Weber ICTs, 34s. I made them fit on a Dell'Orto kit because, well, CB Performance didn't have any, and they said, well, it could be done. And nobody had any instructions or anything, so I figured out how. And the main problem is the flange that opens up here that goes in the carburetor is actually a little bit bigger for the Dell'Orto than it was for the Empy. So I chucked the whole thing in a lathe and I just shaved the inside out. And it wasn't much. I mean, just several thousandths was all. And then I discovered all the bolt holes were in the wrong places, so I had to re-drill everything, and then I welded shut all the old holes that were there. That way we didn't have any, well, it's not really a vacuum leak, but you know, you don't want dirt getting in there. And that's why this looks like it has a chunk taken out of it, because it's the only way it's going to clear that screw. That's just the way it worked out. I mean, yeah, I can go and I can weld that back in, and I could probably shave the screw down a little bit even, but it's fine. It's an air cleaner. It's not particularly something that's going to give you vacuum leaks. It's got a good seal the whole way around otherwise, so it's good. A little ugly on the inside, but again, it's on the inside. You don't see it. Alright, make sure all these are tight also. That one's getting a little tighter as it goes down. There must be something in the threads. Must be just a little something in there. A little more pressure than I thought it would. Yeah, just double check. Make sure we're tight. Looks like we're good. Alright, here we are. Another assembled carburetor. That now the throttle returns on it like it's supposed to. A little detergent in here that needs to be cleaned out of it also. Remember that Simple Green leaves that white residue. It's just soap. That's it. And just like that, it's gone. Good. Alright. Essentially, these are ready to go back on the car, but before we get that far, I also took the air cleaners and threw them in the bath last night after everything was said and done, and I can actually see light through these things now. I know you can't. But before, when I held these things up to light, I couldn't see any light through them. They were dirty. Now they're really clean, fresh to go. Looks good. This one's a little worse for wear. It's kind of been crushed a little bit, but once it's on there, it makes a good seal. So this one's good. And one more thing. You probably noticed that I got my belt sander out here. And the reason why I have the belt sander out, and this is because the last time I did a set of Dell'Ortos, I had a YouTuber that just whined and cried, "Duckman, you gotta sand the top of these things because they look so much better when you do it." You know what? Looking at these two here, the difference is so subtle. I mean, I did it anyway. I normally do that on cooling fins on a motorcycle. I paint the engine black and then I sand down the cooling fins. I did that on Dad's motorcycle too, as a matter of fact. But on here, the difference is so subtle, you don't really hardly see it. I mean, see what I mean? So anyway, Crybaby's going to get his way, so I'll let him have his way. Because if I didn't do it, somebody's going to complain, and it'll probably be him. I don't know. He'll probably come back, and yeah, you know how it goes. So anyway, I got to make the other one match now. Not a big deal. It takes about 30 seconds on the belt sander over there. And then this goes back together just like that. It doesn't have any of the yellow gunk on the inside of it anymore, because it was pretty nasty before. Going to go together just like that. And then this one will go back in the car just the same. Alright, here it goes. I guess we'll return them back to the car. Alright, well, we're back. Drink in hand. Get that up and out of the way so we don't spill it out, because that will just ruin my afternoon. Alright. Down here, what we're going to do is going to connect the fuel line first, because that was one of the because that was one of the more difficult sections to get to. Because once this carburetor is mounted, it's practically impossible to get the fuel line back on. Oh, there it is. Fuel line's on. Tighten up the clamp that's on there. You're just wondering. I wonder where I put my carburetor sinking tool. I haven't seen it in a little while. We're going to need it. In this here, we're going to make this. Since we didn't actually alter the length of anything on the linkages, it might still be pretty close to being in tune, but I'm not going to trust it. Alright, here's our gasket. Put our gasket back on there. carburetor should drop into place. Bolt, should say washer and nut here. The carburetors look so clean in this engine compartment. Anyway, after I got everything said and done and it's tuned, then I'll go ahead and clean out this thing. But I probably, as I said earlier in the video, should have cleaned all this before I even got in here and started taking anything apart. I just didn't realize it was so damn dirty. Something was squirting oil in here also. I see some squirts, random squirts here and there. I don't see like any gushing or puddling or any of that kind of stuff, just squirting across the engine, which looks like it's coming from the oil cooler, which is bad because oil cooler leaks are serious leaks, but I'm not looking at serious leaks, they're just these squirts. Alright, now we're going to make these carburetors snug, which they were not before. This one wasn't bad, but the left side was surprisingly loose. Of course, you can't get a torque wrench on here easily, so we're not using one. Alright. Our vacuum line is somewhere around here. There it is. Vacuum line goes back on that side. Ooh, do I feel a tear in it? Nope, not torn. Had a booger on it. Actually, I feel the seam in it. No, it's not split, not torn. Good to go. Okay. Next, we're going to put our linkage back in there like that. And then the carburetor on this side needs to go back into the linkage. Oh, you know what? Before we do anything, almost forgot. Got to put that fuel line on. This is the part that's going to be hard to reach. There we go. Good. Alright. Let's go back in here, pull this up. Come on, get in there. Here we go. Alright, inside of here we got our nuts and bolts, and I keep saying nuts and bolts. It's not nuts and bolts, it's nuts and washers. One washer, another washer. And these nuts I discovered, one of them was a 12 and one of them was a 13. I don't know why I would have done that, or maybe I didn't do that. Maybe that's the way the car came. I just don't remember that being that way. Nut. This is the kind of area that I just hate working in, because if you have normal sized hands like me, you just can't get into these little areas. Ruby doesn't particularly like a giant fist up her rear end. Okay. This one, this is the one that's really hard to reach here. Of course, the linkage and everything is all in the way. Next time, I put the left side on first, because then the linkage would be in the I don't want to adjust it because you know what happens when you start adjusting things. It's going to be severely out of sync, whereas right now it's going to be pretty close and easy to tune off of. Can't get this nut to turn. I'm trying to just finger tighten it. There it goes. Oh, no, bound up again. Just can't get a grip on it. Alright, well. Turn the modifier. It's almost time anyway. And 1/6 of a turn at a time. Oh no! And then I dropped my wrench. And then this 12er that's back here. Get it snugged. Probably should have put the 12 on the inside there, the one that was harder to reach. Alright, now we get to put our linkage back together. These are these really fun 3/8" nuts that are on here. Everything's metric except for these. Frustrating as hell. I guess that's life. CB Performance, once again, makes a great kit. Links down below in the video description. I don't make any money off of these. We don't do any kind of promoting together, but when you have a superior product, I will talk about it, and this linkage is it. There are other linkages on the market, but this one is the one that I know, tried and true, works well, and like I said, for the last 5-6 years something, it's maintained its tune. Which is the thing that people always tell me, I don't want dual carburetors, I don't have to keep tuning them. You get a good linkage, you don't have to. 6 years! It wasn't until the carburetors gummed up, and at that point it's been 10 years since I even cleaned them, which you probably should be doing every couple of years. Alright, snug this one up too. Yeah, I'd say I did pretty good for 10 years not having any carburetor gummy problems, but they were dirty, there's no doubt about that. And it probably would have been even more obvious had it have not been losing daylight when I took it all apart. Alright. Here we go. It looks like they're still quite well in tune. Alright. Before I put the air cleaners on, let's go ahead and fire it up. And I see I forgot to put the vacuum cap down on there. Where that distributor connects to, it only connects to the one carb, it doesn't need the other side. There's enough vacuum signal over on that side, at least that's the theory anyway. It seems to be okay for me, it runs fine. So I'm going to try to leave that as is. So, alright, let me find that cap, it's in the back somewhere. And I'm going to need some needle nose, probably longer than this to reach it. Well, what do we have? A third house burning down in the neighborhood now? Remember we had that one last summer, and then only a week after that we had another one just down the street. Which for some reason made no publicity. Nobody even saw it burn down. We just saw it the next day, and it was like all burned out. Nobody noticed it. I don't get it. How does nobody notice when a house is burned out? And they lost like half of it, so it was a bad fire. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on this one. Looks like it might be coming from their backyard. It might just be burning some rubbish. I do see they have some pine trees like I do, so that might just be what's going on there. Anyway, let's get back on this. Alright, there's our little sucky nipple. That's what's going to go down on the vacuum intake down there, and hopefully I can reach it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh no. That's not good at all. I should have put that on before I pulled the carburetor back in. And I thought about it too and looked right at it, but for some reason I went brain dead when it was time to install these things and forgot. Come on, get in there. Go on? I think it did. Yeah, it did. I'll be damned. Didn't feel like it, but no, it's on. All right, let me show you why it was such a fight. All right, here's why. Look down inside of here. You see, there's your vacuum sucky. Right there. That guy. So, I had to pull the ignition cable off here. Or wire, ignition wire, spark plug wire, coil wire, that one. Anyway, there it is. Should be ready to go. I should be able to turn the key and I believe it'll fire right up. Oh, we got a loose piece of tin. Oh, we got a very loose piece of tin. Huh, interesting. I'll have to research that and figure out why it's doing that, but looks like some screws are missing or something. It must have vibrated out. Anyway, neither here nor there. It really doesn't affect anything. It's operational, so it should be okay. We'll turn that key and we'll see if we can get a thing to light off. Like I said, alright, so let's take my drink to the driver's seat. Don't do this at home, kids. Alright, let's see if she starts. Okay, I should turn on the fuel pump and just make sure nothing leaks. I can hear the floats coming up. Yep, they're full now. Good. Don't see any dripping. Don't smell anything. I really should look down the throats of the carburetors and see if I see any dripping. That would probably have been the telltale sign, because originally when I had a problem with these carburetors 10 years ago, this one gushed like a motherfucker. This car barely ran at all, and that one just had a little drip in it. But anyway, it ran like shit. It was all because of those accelerator pumps, but man, those carburetors look so clean. Alright, well, let's turn that key, see what happens. Here we go, fun stuff. Yay! Alright, we're not starting. And I think it's because I did something to the ignition. So my hands were smashing into these wires here. Alright, let's try it again. Sounds a lot better than it did. It needs to warm up though, because of course it's been sitting for a little while. Overnight it's been cold. Trying to get the fuel back through the system. Carbs I know are not in sync. Well, I mean, they might be. It's however I left them, so it might be good enough, but it may not be great. But it's idling now, whereas before it was so choppy. The engine would it was horrible. just stall. Yep, I'd say that I fixed the problem. Before I would get on that throttle, man, this car would just die. It was bad, and I was starting to blame the distributor. This is a 034, the one you're supposed to have on an air-cooled Volkswagen. It uses the proper Volkswagen vacuum advance and the centrifugal advance when you rev it up, but normally if you have a 009, which is what this car came with, you'd have that horrendous bog, and this doesn't have that. So, I think we fixed the problem on it, and I'm probably going to find myself relearning how to drive the thing all over again. Also, since I fixed the spring, the return springs on the carburetor, oh my god, I got somebody screaming here behind me. Oh, I don't know how much of that you guys heard, but anyway, since I fixed the return springs on both the carburetors, this return spring may not be necessary anymore because now the carburetor seems, or the throttle pedal seems extremely stiff when I step on it. So I might just detach this once it returns back to idle, which it's not. Oh, I know why. We're not in sync. Yeah, we're not in sync. That right there is the telltale sign we're not in sync. Because as soon as I took that off, this one's still closed, this one opened up. So I have to lengthen that. But I'll put the vacuum tool on there and I'll make an adjustment on it. But that's definitely an issue. We need to tune this. But before I get to that, I do have to take a ride over to my customers and I got to deliver a computer. So that means we're going to take a break on this for just a moment. But when we get back, we'll give this thing a final tune. And then it should be good to send it. Yes, sir. But otherwise, I think it's safe to drive right now. With that return spring on there, that'll solve that problem. Yeah, it definitely needs that spring on there for the moment until I get it retuned. But yeah, that arm needs to be lengthened. Or I need to loosen this and I need to move it left and right. These things are tricky. There's a lot of little motions. Those arms need to be lengthened, shortened, and those things need to go in and out. It's kind of funny how that all works and how it's all, yeah, it's a science, and it's, you push here, you pull there, and everything affects something else. So, anyway, we'll get it right. Alright, well, those carbs still might be just a little bit out of balance, but it's running so much better than it was. I'm very happy. So let's finish my drink. Oh boy. Ooh. And the ice cold. Whoa. I guess it's ice cooled now, huh? Sorry. Oh, wow, it's gone already. That was quick. I guess it just kind of melted and fell through. Right, all I gotta say is, wow, the power difference is tremendous, especially right off of idle. But I'm halfway up the revs with, throttle position halfway or wide open, it's the same, but lower, it's so much different. And honestly, when you're driving, just cruising around, you're usually in the lower throttle positions anyway. So if I was pushing the throttle harder before, I would have gotten a worse gas mileage, which means it's probably really good right now. Even though those carbs are not yet in tune. The difference is, it's just tremendous. Go around these guys. I mean, I'm in second gear right now, and it's chugging like a tractor. It just goes. Lightly on the throttle, I don't need anything more than that. Tremendous difference. So it definitely needed those carburetors clean. Like I said, 10 years is just too long to go. And I mean, I knew that. But looking back, I didn't realize it had been quite that long. I mean, that was when I dumped my ex way back when. And by the way, it was over this car, which is funny. But needless to say, she's gone and the car is still here. Anyway, it's got to say something for, the car and what it means to me. What is this idiot doing? Oh, by the way, my turn signals are flashing again. Look at that. And yes, both sides are supposed to flash at the same time because that's the way Volkswagens work. I checked the wiring on it, and it comes off the fourth terminal on the relay. Helps if I put it in the right gear. It comes off the fourth terminal on the relay, and I forget what it's labeled as, but it's neither here nor there. What I ended up doing was wiring it to the same circuit as the actual external flashers on the outside, like a three-terminal relay. Yeah, gotta put it first for this one. Power delivery is so much smoother. Anyway, I connected it to the third output, which is what controls the lights on the outside, and it started flashing, which tells me the whole circuit is fine, and the bulbs are fine, and the gauge is fine, All the stuff in here is fine. It's been the relay and the connection on the relay, which had a broken wire in it, all along. Now I can probably put a new relay in and solve the problem, or I can just leave it alone. The way it works on the 4th terminal on the relay is the indicator will flash alternately with the lights on the car. So if the light's on the outside, this is off. When this comes on, those go off, and vice versa. So it's dink, 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 dink. That's pretty much the way it works. Real simple, not much to it. But anyway, I have it set up so it all comes on at the same time, and I'm happy with that. I mean, look, it works. So now I have an indicator, which I never had on this car from the time that I got it. So anyway, we're gonna sit in traffic here waiting for that light. When we start cruising again, we'll see what else goes on with this car, but I'm very happy with it otherwise, and I haven't even synced the carburetors yet, and it's so much better than it was. It's the best it's been in years, in fact. I don't remember it ever driving like this. The idle is nice and high. The gas pedal's a little too stiff. I probably have to remove one of those springs, I think, but I guess maybe I can get used to it. But we'll resync those carburetors when we get back. Hopefully we have enough daylight. I got to deliver this computer, as I said. I got to deliver that invoice, and I got to get out of here. Try to get something done. We got about an hour or so of daylight left in the day, and well, that's just the way it goes. That's typically how my videos end. One day I'll have a trivia question about that. You know, hey, how does Duckman's videos usually end? And it's usually by the sun going down. It's not rain. No. Rain usually stops me from recording, but it doesn't end my videos. The darkness does. All right, well, we're on our way. See you guys in a little bit. Well, it sure gets dark early this time of year. Got pitch black in the time it took me to drop that computer off. Anyway, I decided we're going to take a quick shot over to HotRods and Hoagies, which, HotRods and Hoagies, sorry. I always say the wrong thing, kind of on purpose, but that time I said it by accident because I'm so used to saying it wrong. Anyway, they put on a little car gathering once a month. Not too far from here. I figure we'll go take a trip over there. It should be Christmas lights, decoration, car season. I didn't put any on Ruby because, well, the lights. Carburetors are much more important than Christmas lights. But anyway, Wild Bill's over there, the gang is over there, all the Volkswagen guys showed up, and I'm driving with rush hour traffic, and I'm going to be going through one of the busiest parts of town, which is no fun, but gotta do what we gotta do. Anyway, I'll get a little video when we get over here. Guys, we got some copyrighted music, so we can't do too awfully much with audio, but here we are, Volkswagen guys showing up here, look at that. Pretty good turnout, I gotta say. Well, I guess that's going to be it for tonight, because it started raining on again, off again since I got home. So what that means, I guess, is we're going to wrap up this video, and all the carb balancing stuff is going to show up in another video. So watch for that probably next week. I guess they're having some kind of a party down there. People are yelling and screaming and making all kinds of noise. Anyway, I guess that's it for tonight. So like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to plug that dingle belly so you get updates every time I upload a video. Check out duckshit.net for all my different social media links. And we'll see you guys next week, or, well, probably as soon as this weekend, for another go-kart update. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.